Welcome. This is a bit of a different video than you're probably used to. This is a live analysis, not a commentary, not a reaction. I've already seen this. I'm just going through frame by frame, not literally, and seeing what we can find. I plan on making this a regular thing, but we'll talk about it more at the end of the video. So, we are in violence. That is the layer we are in. Violence in Dante's Inferno. I've been asked this a lot. Violence in Inferno is different from Wrath. As I said before, the city of Dis, D-I-S, begins just before heresy. Like, heresy is surrounded by walls, and that walls are the city of Dis and everything in it. As I said in the previous video, the city of Dis is for sins that are more proactive, out of deliberate malice and wickedness, which means that the layers before are just unlikable personalities. You're a piece of shit. That's what it is. However, the sins that are in the city of Dis, heresy, violence, fraud, treachery, these directly impact people's lives in a very negative way, out of your own selfish, sinful desires. Violence in Inferno is the beginning of the layers that have multiple sections. In violence, there are 3 layers. The first section is violence against others. So this is more for people like tyrants, generals, war makers, colonists, those sort of people. People that wished violence upon others. Their punishment is boiling in a lake of blood. Now, blood boils at about water temperature, so 212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius. So you can imagine that these people are boiling, they're swimming around in slightly thicker water. As they boil, they can't rise above the water too high. They can't rise above the blood. Or else minotaurs that patrol the outskirts shoot them down with bows and arrows. So that's what that is. The second section of violence is violence against self. More aptly, suicides. So if you kill yourself, you go to this section. Dante believed that because you threw away the body that God gave you, you don't have the luxury of having that body in violence. So in this case, you would be turned into a tree. The second section, violence against self, is also called the Forest of Suicides. So you'd be turned into a tree, and harpies would fly around and start ripping branches off, which would be the equivalent of tearing off a limb. And you would bleed, you would feel the pain, and that's your punishment. The last section of violence is violence against God, art, and nature. These are more for, crimes against nature, pretty much. Bestiality, being gay. That's what Dante believes would. I mean, this was Holy Roman Empire stuff. They weren't with the times. I'm just a messenger. Their punishment mirrored Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was kind of like greed, how we see greed in Ultrakill, with the desert and the scorching sun. But there would also be rain of fire. So, rain, which we imagine would be cool and refreshing, would instead descend as fire. Now, people in this section would either be running around on this scalding sand, or they would be huddled, weeping, or they would be stretched supine on their backs, taking the full brunt of this rain of fire. So, that's violence. We got a little bit from here, where it sounds really depressing. And I theorized that at the beginning, it'll have more of an angelic motif. And as we see here, yeah, it pretty much did. So that's we're in violence now. So, oh god. So immediately we are blinded. The world looks white. And the angelic motif that I mentioned, yeah, very much so. The trees from Limbo are here, once again. Everything's just very monochrome, very white. Of course, nothing much to say here. We have a marble flooring take us into what looks like this palace. As I said, very angelic motifs. This, I think, very closely mirrors... Shut up. I think this very closely mirrors what we see in heaven. And we see heaven in Gabriel's fight against the council. You know, where he goes up there and we see heaven, and it's like marble. Everything looks like Greek architecture. It's kind of like this. These textures are taken from the development credit. Yes, you know what I mean. It's taken from there. So the Guarding of Forking Paths, I don't know a lot about this, but I do know that it is a book. Either a book or a story. It's one of those two things. I don't know the plot of it. I just know it's a book. Keeping in line with Hakida's tendency to name levels after pop culture. In this case, it's a book. So you can see it for a split second there. Just before it closes. Come on. Come on, work with me. There you go. Before it closes, you can see the skull there that we see later on in the video. Now, there's no things there. Although it has been confirmed by Hikita that these things are called mannequins. They are mannequins. That's what they're called. Also, according to Hikita, they don't do anything. Here, let me pull it up real quick. So they're called mannequin. A few other art screenshots. So it's bound by that. Actually, we might be getting a bit too far. Alright, let's keep watching, and we'll get there as we get there. So, those mannequins aren't here. Closes on us before we could get to that. And here we do see them. Actually, I wasn't too far off. And it changes pose as we look away. So it's kind of a weeping angel situation. Not a weeping angel in that it moves behind you and kills you, but more of a just changes position. I'm sure there's an SCP about that. 650. Totally correct. Although it has many hands and it has an upside down face. But all it does is just it just shows up behind you. And according to what Hikita has said before, they don't really do anything. I have the pictures on my phone. I'll send them over when I feel like it. So far these things don't really do anything, and I do have a picture that's Hikita says they don't do anything, they just stand there. So now we are prompted to actually go get the skull. These things stay here. And the door opens. So, fitting to the name, this seems like a maze. It kind of reminds me of 4-3 in the pyramid. When you're lighting up all of the torches in that first area, you're having to go around everywhere and put things back up. So, very much like a maze of sort. There's a heart here. I just noticed this. There's a heart. I thought there was something there before, but then I realized no, it's not. But then, now I see it on the computer, and yeah, there's a heart here. And a book. A book. Can't wait to see what that is. Either it's going to be something about the lore of this area, or maybe about the mannequins. Actually, I have no idea what it could be. Never mind. That's Alpha. So if there's an Alpha, there's probably a Bravo, Charlie, somewhere. There's a red pedestal there. Either to open that door or the door behind us. Now the room that we just saw before is now filled with mannequins. All in their bloody glory. I don't know, but there wasn't anything in there before. Here, we're at 111. See, there's nothing in there. So in the time it took between this door closing and us going in there, it's now filled with mannequins. Probably because hell teleported them in. Or they just walked in, I guess. I don't know. That automatically goes up. We don't have to do anything. Which is kind of weird. Usually there's some kind of trigger or something that we gotta do. It's like a door. But we have a Hank. Pick it up. It's no head. No head. They turn around. They're like, who the fuck asked? It's me. I'm the guy who asked. They leave a path open for you. So I don't know if they do anything. I mean, nobody really knows what they do. But they leave a little path open for you, but it's a bit more closed off. So I have to wonder if it really is a Weeping Angel situation where they just kind of stare at you, but the moment you look away, they teleport really close to you and they damage you somehow. And that's about all we can get from here. Surprisingly, the Ultra Kill Wiki already has a page for Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. By their appearance, it can be assumed that they are demons. I believe they're demons as well. That is very stony texture with stony facial features. A malicious face, if you will. And blood from all their joints. To me, this thing seems like it was tortured in a way. I mean, this does not look like a natural being. Natural demons, they're pretty much fused together with the exception of Leviathan and Hideous Mass. But they're bursting at the seams, and Leviathan is a bit of a special case. But we see from here that they're bleeding at the seams, which means that it makes me believe that they were taken apart and put back together, in a sense. Like, they used to have some kind of shape, but they were torn apart, and they're just grabbing onto each other, or they're fused together somehow, but they are bleeding through their seams. But it's nothing but hands. Like, a hand, it's just a forearm and a hand. Forearm, there's a hand there, hand there. They have two hands fused together here. At first, I thought this was some kind of, like, projectile thing. This looks like a claw, where a projectile would come out of. But, according to Akita, probably not. And even the feet is just hands grabbing onto just a single hand. No arm, it's just a hand. So, another thing to point out is that it's feminine. Those are titties right there. This is a vaguely feminine humanoid. Vaguely feminine humanoid. Covered in blood, upside down face, made out of forearms and hands. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Leaving foot lovers disappointed, but hand fetishes ecstatic. I love this place. This is the concept art. The thumbnail was taken directly from the art of Francis. So you can clearly see these are supposed to be hands and blood. But even though this is an upside down face, they don't have a cavity where the neck, in this case, would be. It's all fused up. So either it grew upside down, or it healed itself after it was attached onto here. Jonathan, what? Whatever the fuck this is. His name is Jonathan now. I will beat you to death. What is Pathfinder? Oh, I digress. Mannequin and the Maya Flare are the only enemies with a feminine appearance. Yeah. Hand fetish is ecstatic. Oh, that's great. Here we are. I took these from my phone, you see. So this is more of a miscellaneous thing. A lot of the enemies are named very bluntly because it's indicative of if you just saw them and then called it whatever you thought it was. It's not because they actually have a real face or a real purpose or anything. The only exception to this is the robots, which are named as such because if V1 took part in stuff on the surface, then it would know what the robots are. It would know that the Mind Flayer flays minds or something. I have my own theories on that. It would know that the street cleaners used to clean streets. It would know their purpose. Whereas in Ultra Kill, either it's mannequin, malicious face, I guess you can assume that V1 knows a bit about Greek mythology for it to name the Cerberus. Things like that. This is what I mean. Doesn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. They're just mannequins that stand still. So, either they're SCP-560 that just show up behind you just to spook you, or if they do something special, maybe they come up behind you. No idea. But it will not be long before we find out. I've also kind of... Here we go. Oh, I just understood what this meant. I screenshot this because I thought it would be important to Ultra Kill. I thought it would be I thought this level would confirm that Ultra Kill has a multiverse theory. This is the book. The book came out early, and they come out with multiverses before it actually became scientific. But yeah. This is something more general about lore. The thing with Hakita is that he makes lore in a specific way, and I have to know what that way is so I know what's important and what's not. In this case, the only time lore is mentioned is if it's important. And he said this many times before. If you just add information for information's sake, it eventually becomes white noise, where it becomes impossible to determine whether things are actually important and which are there just to be there. And yeah, I can see that. I do like knowing things, so I wouldn't mind if he threw a bunch at me, but I also don't want it to be a FNAF situation, you know? Sorry, I'm that bad. Ultra Kill's mythology diverts pretty majorly from all the branches of Abrahamic religion I know of, so it doesn't consider it to be reflective or accusatory of any actual take on it. So it's not supposed to be offensive or judging of any religion. I mean, it can still have a theme of psychology, like blind faith, for instance. How that can be dangerous. I mean, everything that you put out there is a statement of some kind. Whether it be a book, it can be the clothes you wear, it can be the way you word things. It's indicative of how you think, how you believe, things like that. My take on things that don't make much sense to me about many years of mythology is how I can make those things make sense to me. That's a pretty good way of thinking about it. And of course, we have more pictures of the womanikin and the feet. So yeah, that cannot be comfortable, by the way. I mean, have you tried to walk on your hands? It's just tough. It really shows you how strong your legs are. So yeah, that's all I can really glean from here. I only got a minute and 20 seconds. I can't get a lot from this. But, I guess it would be good to see the music. So this is what we heard in that video we just watched. Very melancholic, very sad. And of course, if you want a more in-depth explanation, you have Marco Meatball here. I kind of like him. He's pretty cool. You hear those strings in the background revving up and then revving down. That's to add the tension and the uneasiness as we walk through. Especially since it's a gradual. Same thing with these music notes here. They start soft, gradually comes in, and then fades away. And then we have the underlying bass, revving things up. And then it stops. This really makes us feel uneasy. Makes me believe that violence is going to be very, very depressing. Very melancholic. Almost, probably worse than lust. Because lust had a melancholic atmosphere. This really evs up the tension. Like a clock. And as Mr. Marco Meatball here says, this clock is like the clock strikes midnight, you know? Like, the time's ticking. We don't have long. And then something terrible happens. That drone in the background, it kind of reminds me of... Here, let me rewind a bit. That drone in the background kind of reminds me of the ferryman. Not in any, particular sense, but it's just a similar feeling. So, I guess you can draw a parallel between the ferryman and this, in that purpose is lost, I guess, or the depressing feeling that goes along with it. But something happens, something vast and huge that is really depressing. I know I keep saying that, but it's the best way I can describe it. You hear that electric guitar? That's taken directly from Gabrielle's theme. Yet another hint of angelic motifs. You hear a slight organ in the background. Also indicative of angels and religion, God. So to me, this place doesn't seem much of... This place seems more like a wasteland, almost. Of course, you have the drums underneath, fitting of Ultra Kill's idea. It's, it's Ultra Kill. It has a lot of drums. But this place seems desolate, empty, like Silent Hill, I really like this piano here. can't tell if this is the combat version. Yeah. I can't tell if that last bit was the... Here we go. This is what I said. Because of demons, they're in their head shape, blah, blah, blah. Were it not Ultra Kill, I'd say it sounds like the aftermath of a terrible catastrophic event or collapse of some kind. And you're walking through the remains of the rubble. This is... this section. When the second part kicks in, instruments remind me of chords that play in the ferryman fight and also at the music after the ferry is overturned. Yes. That version of... you know. That. Of, Death Odyssey. That's what it was. That version of Death Odyssey. Electric guitar that plays in the organ. Not only do I believe that violence will be a very melancholy layer, but it might have angelic or heavenly undertones. With the organ, Gabriel's theme, and the beginning song called The World Looks White. Our first look at heaven has a bunch of white. And of course, the second theme says it's red, because we're spilling blood everywhere. Then again, maybe the angelic themes mean Gabriel's presence will be here during the level. What if he started killing enemies ahead of us, slowly draining us of our blood so he can fight us again and win? And this is what I thought it was. Violence against self because of how sad it is. And... yeah. So yeah, that's all I can get. I mean, there might be more. Discuss it in the comments if you want to talk about that a bit more. More about wanting to do this more in the future. I think a good way to keep up with, YouTube and not be dead for months is give my own analysis on the screenshot Saturdays. I mean, in this case, it's not really a screenshot, but... oops. It can be pretty much anything. It can be music. I mean, I won't give you everything. I mean, I'm not going to look at patch notes and stuff, but... or things like this. I mean more like actual main story updates. And give it a similar feel to this, just live commentary, analysis, without the stress of editing so much. So, when more comes out, I'll see if I can say something about that. I hope to make it more common. I hope to do this more. But, given my temperament, I probably won't. But, we'll have to see. I want to make this more often. But again, we'll have to see. I am working on the ARG video. Yes, I am. And it's about halfway done. For those of you that want more voice acting, I definitely have more of that. You're welcome. And I have made changes to work. And I might make bigger changes later. Soon, even. But I have made a few changes, and hopefully that'll make things a bit easier on me. But we'll have to see. Anyway, that's all I got. Join my Discord and talk with me. Complain about how long I'm taking. And, yeah, watch my videos, give me money, so I can do this more. We'll surely meet again, eventually.